Okay, we are done with some little more nice music, and if I look at the back of the inn, I see two people that I know just came in. They look a little bit worn out. It's Keda and Risk, I presume. Guys, come on over, have a drink here. Wait, what are you carrying there, Risk? Is that your gut?
Yes.
Yeah, because you just came out of Clara 40, and how did it go?
Better than expected, I would say.
Better than expected, certainly. We did eventually manage to surpass one of the encounters that has been put in front of us, but it took lots of time and effort. Yeah, lots of putting Risk's gut back into his body.
Yeah, I was there with you on my Observer account, and I watched you guys fight. I'm very curious, when you just entered the instance for the first time, what was the atmosphere like? How did you feel?
Everybody was praising the music. I would assume it's originally composed, and it really does fit the area. But beside the music, we were afraid of basically everything. At the start, we took every single trash pool with as carefully as we could have. We used all the CCs, tried to test everything out.
Okay, so the first trash packs were not that difficult, but it's a long way to the first boss, right?
Eventually started just figuring out the moment we saw every mob. So every type of mob we tried stun, set magic, and see what they can actually be done to, sheeping. We then figured out really quickly that we can just pull everything, AoE it down. Apart from some mobs where we had to focus them a little bit more than others, but we already thought that was going to be the case. If you see caster mobs, you always kind of want to focus them first, I would say.
There was one point with that where usually on the other pools we just sheeps the caster mobs. This time we've sort of forgot what a mistake that was.
We wiped once on trash, yeah.
Oh, that was the very first wipe you experienced.
Yeah, just before the first.
The last trash pack, basically, which is the hardest.
Yeah. And how does it feel to walk all that way back every time?
I wish they put a spirit healer at the bridge or something like that.
Yeah, I can understand it, because it's a long walk. I have waited for you guys to run back, and I think it took like 3 to 4 minutes per attempt.
Yeah.
Which is pretty long.
And that's just at beginning, so if we're wiping at the end, I hope they have... Well, we figured out they have it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I can say that.
We will cut it out otherwise.
There is some sort of stuff to get back to the position you were, which is nice. I think that's just also the same from Kara 10.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the very first boss, Null Moon. You guys were, of course, already had a few attempts when I joined. And the first thing that I noticed is you split up the groups in 2 separate parts. And during the lunar shift phase especially, you decided you wanted to do a line out of sight tactic. How did you come up with that?
Well, it was the line out of sight was fairly obvious to us, because the first time it happened, every single person died. So the first thing that came to mind, yeah, we try to go out of sight. Perhaps that will help. And it eventually turned out to be more successful than we had thought.
Okay, because I presume that you switched between Blue and Red Moon during the lunar shift, but it also kills you, if I understand correctly.
We tried to do that on the first time or the second time, because we noticed in the Yell chat, Null Fang says, we hold the lunar shift, so we thought, okay, we have to switch sides. But didn't realize the fact that the debuff does something nasty to you when you intermingle with your fellow compatriots.
Yeah, I accidentally did that to you guys because I was standing very close and also got that moon debuff. And I noticed the health of the tank that is just waiting for the pull is ticking down. Maybe I should go up a little bit higher.
It was you.
It didn't kill you guys, for it to be clear. It was like 10% of health. And then I said, okay, let's go somewhere else all the way to the top and not interfere anything more. But yes, apparently the GM account also gets the debuff when they are inside the room on the ground level, but all the way at the top, it did not. However, there was a raven flying circular around me when I was there. So I had to get down during certain raven phases. Because I was not sure if you guys had to kill them all. So it was also a bit of a strategy for me to perform.
I mean, at the start, we weren't sure either if we have to kill all of them. Eventually, we did notice that the more that exists, the more damaging it can get. We still don't understand it fully.
But yeah, every Raven had like 10k health, so there were just little ads, right? That you just have to kill, and if you have too many of them, the damage is just too big.
That appears to be the case.
Yeah.
I would compare it very similar to how a Dead Knight works.
A Dead Knight?
Yeah, and Blood Spec, which can summon the parasites, and then every time he blood boils, the more parasites or worms, the more damage it does.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy, I think. Well, you both got that lunar phase and the raven phase pretty much under control. However, the owl phase, that was the one that you really struggled on, if I'm correct.
It was quite challenging for us because at the start, we weren't quite sure what exactly it is. What is the fight presenting us with? Is it a gear check? Is it a mechanic check? Is it just turn your brain on and try to figure out which one has to die first, or do they have to die at the same time? We weren't quite sure at the start, so we were testing all our approaches in each individual attempt. Eventually we did figure it out.
Yeah.
I won't tell you how to do it though.
No, because you guys were very clear, we are not spoiling anything. Before listeners that are just coming in, these raid leaders of Moments, the guild Moments, went into Kara 40 all blind, so they did not know any tactics beforehand. They wanted to figure it out on their own, so that's why we are talking so widely on this topic. For that owl phase, I even thought you were going to give up because at some point you thought it was a lacking of DPS that you currently had. Why was that one of the options on the table? Because you are all next geared, right?
Well, I don't think we were going to give up. I think we wiped more on the owl phase because we were overthinking it and then trying different strategies that maybe made sense for us for a few seconds, but then obviously we figured out that we're just overthinking it. So I would suggest leaders going in, stick with your first stall because our first stall was actually correct. And then once we figured it out more, what the owl phase was, we started popping and then it felt really a lot easier.
One of the issues during the owl phase was also that, the ravens still continue existing. We didn't have the pest control aspect down just yet. So we had some of the people dying, some of the people focusing on them. So it was also that aspect that had this sort of split of DPS.
Yeah, and there were always people dying before that phase, so you already had to deal with less DPS at that point, if I'm correct.
That as well, yes.
We did figure out a very nice way of dealing with it, which I'm not gonna spoil, but it was really nice to see that way is very against having 30 warriors in your raid. I really, really love that, and I think that's why a lot of guilds are struggling, because they're just not bringing the right comp, and Kara apparently is a raid of the right comp, which is lovely.
I get what you're saying there, because you came up with a tactic that's very intuitive, I must say, but you have to balance your classes, let's say that.
It's not optimal, apparently, how we're doing it.
You might, but the think tank, it's been working overtime. We all are trying to figure out which aspect of the fight we haven't quite got down yet. We still haven't figured it out.
Yeah, I know what it is, and I wish you the guys best of luck in figuring that one out. What I especially loved after you killed the first boss, of course, you were so happy and cheering because it took like 3 hours or something like that, 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours, probably.
2.5 hours to figure him out. I think we could have done it in 2 hours if we'd stopped overthinking it.
But still, it was a big celebration, of course. You went to the second boss. And what I absolutely loved, that was one person in your voice chat that only said, guys, I just talked with somebody who already did the second boss. And you were all blasting at him to shut up.
That indeed did happen. And the best part about it is, it was quite a point of contention, yeah. The raid wasn't so happy, but then it was diffused very simply by one of us asking, okay, why are some of the people dying on trash? And one of the raid members responding with, oh no, it's just that Raider XYZ touched the book of... And everybody started laughing there.
I was looking so closely to those books if anybody's going to pick them up. And you went back to it to see some stuff that was left.
I'll say I have something found of a profession. After I found it, I figured it out how to learn the recipe. And the funny thing is, I'll send you a picture. Of course, you can't really show it on the stream, I guess.
I can. I am live streaming on Twitch, SpongeCrab Games, that is. And I will put the photo up there.
So after I found it, I'll just say I was doing, together with Puree, I was doing this a long time.
Wait, what am I looking at? Is this the dwarven farmer at east coast of...
Wetlands where the Hawk's Vigil is.
Hawk's Vigil, it's the T-Well custom area.
You can see I have a shovel in my hand and I'm gardening. That's all I'm saying about it.
Okay.
We had a change of life, you know, Karazhan. Not exact, you can't do that 24/7. You have to return to the simple way of life after.
But it is a part of the new thing in Kara.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what you're trying to say here. Yeah, very cool. Very good. Well, good luck with your new farming job. Okay, you have a wide range of classes in the raid. Have you started thinking about how the group's composition might influence the current progression through the other bosses? Is it all well balanced? And how do you look at the resistance gear that you currently have?
If you notice, I was playing my paladin. After the raid, I've retired my paladin and I am now coming on my warlock, which is much more needed than retro paladins for now.
Yeah, just what you already said in the last interview, you really need those warlocks up.
Yeah. Specific types of damage is going to be needed. That's all I'm saying about that. And if you're lacking one of it, it's a struggle.
Yeah. So class balance is one of the key features to progress.
100%.
Yeah, so once again, 30 warrior raids, probably not going to get you far.
And how about the resistance focus you had? Because you were mostly stacking arcane resistance. How did that work out?
The arcane resistance, where we've got right now, I don't believe we've had plenty of opportunities to really test it, because at the stage we are at right now, I personally at least don't believe it is required to progress. So I do believe we'll find a tougher roadblock after we progress even further.
There's definitely some resistance on the second, but I don't think it's full, that you need all to be resistant. We figured out a lot already from the second boss. From testing and from the polls, and just figuring out data that we had from the combat log.
Unless that man has a mechanic that we have yet to see,
Yes.
I do strongly believe we've got him down. We understand how he works.
Okay. Well, I wish you guys the best of luck with that. Last question. After your first night in Kara 40, what is the biggest question mark you're walking away with?
Will we get good loot?
Yeah, your loot sucked. That was so sad.
It really did, yeah.
When the loot was being distributed, nobody wanted it. Nobody was rolling.
Well, I want...
Nobody wanted it, yeah.
Yeah, but you're not getting anything for griefing us earlier.
Well, I was not briefing you. There was all before the pool. I know there was a different GM there. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, we noticed in the logs that suddenly we were getting beams from another direction, or like that didn't make sense in the logs compared. And yeah, we were sure we were getting chained by a GM at one point.
Okay, we are closing down this interview. Thank you guys very much for doing this extensive interview on Cover 40. If you are currently a hardcore player, I'm really looking for you in this segment. So I want to do something for you specifically. And it's one of the biggest killers for hardcore players in the world. And I'm going to ask Risk and Kada, do you have any idea which NPC, not really, does a lot of kills for hardcore players?
The first thing that comes to mind is the Unforgiven in the Undercity, the invisible mobs.
You're close. You are in the right town, though, but it's not the only location that has this specific type of person, you could say. But indeed, it is in the Undercity, but also in the south of the Barrens.
Oh, so would that be natural causes then?
It's
Fall
natural
damage?
causes, but we gave him a little bit of a face. It's the elevator operator.